So proud of that.
You're fine.
There you go, Blake.
Oh, we're back.
Boom! I'm back. I'm back.
Boom.
I'm back.
Awesome. We're live, baby. We're live. Welcome, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Welcome, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners. Thank you for joining another exciting episode of the Inspire podcast. I am super stoked to bring on this guest today. I met him back in November. Such a genuine, authentic entrepreneur who has a hell of a product. And I'm excited to invite him on here today to have him explain to you what's going on here. So let me introduce my good friend, CEO of Optimized Influencer, Arn Allemand. What's going on, Arn?
Hey, brother. How you doing, Alexander? Good to see you, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm so stoked for you coming on the show today, man. Thank you for your time once again. Introduce yourself, brother. Let the audience know what it is that you're doing, Arn, in the community, because you've got some really big visions here.
Oh, man. Alexander, thank you so much, brother. Well, first off, I am a soon-to-be 47-year-old daddy and husband. I've got two little boys. And, my life's vision and what everything has kind of come to this point with is how do we optimize our physical space and what's connected to that. And I truly believe that most of us are operating at a fraction of what we're capable of. And so the program and the product that I put together is intended to be able to help people design and draw out their optimal performance and be able to act within each day with as much of their being as they're capable of. I think that we feel a lot of time wasted trying to figure things out. And so I use DNA and biometrics as two tools to be able to help people short circuit that plan. And then we create a blueprint and we go for it, from support to community to absolute freaking rocking entrepreneurs that are out there changing the world. So
Sure. And you yourself, right? I want to get a clear vision of here. Optimized influencer, right? This is more than just like you said. This is mind, body, and spirit. This is ensuring that all what's the word I'm looking for? Synapses are firing off at the right times needed. So can you dive into how important it is for an entrepreneur to not just have their mindset in check, but also their body, because it's interconnected?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I remember sitting in my sophomore in high school history teacher's classroom, and Monty Muldoon was his name. That just popped into my head.
What is it, Monty?
Monty Muldoon.
Monty Muldoon.
Yeah, great name, right? He was a towering man. I mean, he was a big dude. Not a Schwarzenegger physique, but just a big dude. But he was an Olympic weightlifter. And this was back, when Olympic weightlifting wasn't cool. It was way before CrossFit. And I remember on his podium, it said, "Mensana in corpore sano," of sound mind and sound body.
Sure.
And it was something that obviously stuck with me. We're talking, a long time now, many years, over 30 years. And I feel that that's the connection you're speaking of. I feel like we get so clouded with junk, whether it's mental, whether it's the foods that we eat, whether it's lack of activity, and whether it's lack of sleep. And what we fail to realize is that all of those things, and I think in the entrepreneurial space and the CEO space, like high performers, I think we really fall into a trap of go, and well, I can, so I will. I can stay up until 2 a.m., so I will stay up till 2 a.m., even though I have to be up at 5 a.m. in the morning for a meeting or a business call, And this perpetuates this idea of doing more. And the irony of it is that as we do more, we're actually getting less. I mean, everybody knows ROI, right? So we're actually getting less return on investment. And so that's where this entered in. I mean, it entered into my life first off, because as a healthy man that people in my CrossFit community and stuff would look to as someone that was in shape and fit, what I found is that inside I didn't feel fit. I was starting to feel fuzzy in my brain. Mental clarity was waning, joints hurt, things like that. And so even though physically there's this appearance of strength in all metrics that you could think: body composition, strength and weight room, performance, whatever. But what I knew, I felt like, was a fraction. What I knew was the motivation that I had to have just to get out of bed, because my knees and my joints ached and hurt. And so I'm like, what's the solution? I got to find the answer. And I did. So
That's amazing. So Optimized Influencer, this is your brand, and you said that you guys have two products that you're offering utilizing DNA and biometrics. Is that correct? I just want to make sure that I have that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I really love the topic of DNA and biometrics because it's very, very fascinating. It's how is this done? Walk us through the process, because I know I have a lot of professional athletes on my feed here who very much interested into the science of bettering their body, bettering their mind for performance. So walk us through that, man.
Absolutely. And just for one moment, I want to talk about that term influencer, because I think a lot of people here, like if you go to my website, you'll see it talks about entrepreneurs. And that's a specific subset, a niche that I work with. But the idea of an influencer is, again, the idea of somebody that is making an impact for someone else. And so as a professional athlete, I mean, shoot, dude, we talked about this a while back. Every time I watch Rocky, I cry, right? Doesn't matter if it's Rocky 1, 2, 3, 5 or 6, whichever one with the Tommy gun, but I have this visceral emotion. And it's because of the connection and the story. And so the influence, whether we're a father, an entrepreneur, a professional athlete, a teacher, whatever, we all have the ability to influence others. And so for me, I come from a science background. I've been involved in some different aspects of research over the years, and all driven just by curiosity. Working with local universities and stuff. And so as I moved into this, again, the question became, how do we short circuit the learning curve? Because for me to arrive where I am right now, it's literally taken 42 years of my life.
Sure.
Because I started as a young boy. I have visions of my dad going to judo when I was probably 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And then, going for runs after that. And he had weights downstairs. And then I found his Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding book and all of this stuff. And so as soon as I could read, I was reading. As soon as I could look at pictures, I was looking at pictures, and I was learning and gleaning all of this stuff. It's taken a lot of time, and not everybody has that kind of time to give. And so that's where I feel the DNA makes the biggest impact, because I want to make sure that people understand that even at that, like what we're doing is we're creating a blueprint. And that's why I call it the optimized influencer blueprint. But we're creating a blueprint that's our starting point. So rather than just starting from a generalization of you're a human male that is, 32 years old or whatever, or 47 or 18 or whatever, we're saying, okay, this is, you're a human male, but this is your genetic blueprint. These are the characteristics that you're predisposed to. And we know that environment, we know that actions, we know that diet, we know that age, we know that seasons, all of these things affect how our genes are turned on and turned off, how they're signaled. And so there are other factors involved, but at least with a baseline, we're able to go from that point and move forward. So that's number one, and that's the first component of the OI Blueprint program. The second piece is, okay, now we've got this baseline, and so how do we measure change over time? And obviously we can look at metrics like how's your body composition changed. You can look at subjective measures like what's your energy like. We can look at actual metrics of how much weight have you lifted, times on a workout, et cetera, all of those kind of traditional means. But all of those things are, they're things. They're all data. They're all data that we can use. And traditionally they've actually been used and they work very well. But I thought, I want another level. I want to be able to have another window. And so I started exploring some different tools. And so I use the Aura Ring, and I also use the Whoop strap. Okay. And I have two options because athletes have different needs. Individuals have different needs. And by the way, if I use the word athlete, it's interchangeable. I'm not just talking about your professional athlete friends. I'm talking about, the mom and the dad that's going out and going for a walk this morning. I mean, we're athletes as humans. We are made to move, right? And So these tools are fabulous because they measure activity, they measure sleep quality, and they put those variables or those values that are collected throughout the day and throughout the night into an algorithm, and they give us out a number in the morning that says, hey, this is your readiness score for the day. And that right there is something that I absolutely love because as a human, as a person that's able to think through processes, I overthink a lot of things personally. And I think
we're all guilty of that at some point, right?
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. And so I often think that more is better. And so I might go to bed late, but I'm like, I'm still going to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go hit my CrossFit workout with my crew. And so I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh man, my heart rate's beating fast. I'm short of breath. I'm groggy, maybe a little dizzy. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do it anyway. Well, I'm feeling all those things because I'm so tired, right? 4 hours of sleep. I'm like, that's not right. And so what it's done for me is being able to look at the tool is I wake up, I assess myself, I look at my metrics on the phone, check the app. And if I feel bad, but it says go, I'm like, get over yourself. It's green light, yellow light, you're in, man. But if I feel bad and it says red, I'm like, okay, there's a reason for that. I'm going to go back to sleep. I'm going to sleep an hour and a half more, and then pop up. And then I'll do a workout later in the day, lower intensity, look at it more as a recovery day, but I change my workout that day. And so that's the two-pronged approach that I take. We take the DNA to hone in, create a plan for fitness, nutrition, and recovery, which includes sleep. And then we go on the other side, and on a daily basis, we assess through traditional metrics of recording values in an app that I have for my clients, but then also being able to look under the surface at what the metrics are coming back on the ring.
That's incredible. It's almost as if it's like reinforcing a lifestyle change through the technology, man. That's incredible. That is amazing, man. And from the conversations that we've had, we've spoke, but we've never broken it down like that. And that was just like, that was great, man. That was great. And I wanted to touch on something here. One of the things that drew me to you, we met at Akbar's Mastermind, which, by the way, I have the shirt on right now, the coach's secret.
I love it. I saw it.
Incredible environment, just filled with entrepreneurs, so much synergy. And you were one of the people that I was really connected to. And I would say the universe works like this: likes attract likes. The law of attraction. And one of the things that I really enjoyed through our conversations was our talks about science and physics and that.
Sure.
How did you get involved into learning about the metaphysical space, if that's the right terminology to use, learning about that the metaphysical world, so to speak, of energy attracting?
Yeah, it's a great question. More so in recent years, just in this entrepreneurial space, I think there are a lot of, that's the general premise, is that, you are a function or a product of the 5 people that you're closest to. And, when my wife, Nikki, and I started traveling down that path, I looked at my life and not looking and judging the people that I was around, because I was around some amazing, beautiful people and beautiful souls, and I love them. But we were going through a transition in our own relationship, and asking a lot of questions. We were at the 5 or 6 year mark, and asking a lot of questions about what's this going to look like for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And it made me look at other aspects as well. And again, amazing people, but I was like, they're all pretty content, where they're at. I mean, they're career driven, they're doing their thing and all that. And I'm like, I kind of want something a little different. And that was the first thing that really started to resonate with me. And just maybe look into other ideas of, well, who's guiding and leading in these areas of entrepreneurship? Who's guiding and leading in financial fitness, and start exploring that. But, I think it all goes way back. I mean, honestly, my dad, was kind of into this stuff before this stuff was cool, and people kind of look a little sideways at him back, in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. But I remember some of these conversations and thoughts. So I've been open because of that. just those conversations as a kid, as awkward and weird as they sometimes seemed, it primed my mind to be able to move into this space now. But it takes time, right? It's a growth.
Absolutely. It's, and it's, as you say that, to me, it doesn't sound crazy. And to very successful entrepreneurs, it doesn't sound crazy. And one thing that really opened my mind when I started to surround myself with more like-minded individuals is they all understood the power of belief. They all understood our thoughts are things, and we have to be very cautious of what we're projecting through our physiology, right? Through our body language, through the words that we speak. It's all magnetic. It's all, it all attracts the very things that we are asking for. So if you say, oh my gosh, it's Monday and I'm got to go sit in traffic, and what's going to happen? As crazy as that sounds, that sounds. And I was actually going through a video as we were getting on the call here, and it was Jim Carrey talking about writing himself a check for $11 million. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh my gosh! May I? I want to value your time here, man.
Yeah, man.
let's. So check this out. He's being interviewed on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Let me share my screen here. There we go. He's being interviewed on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I thought this was incredible because it totally reinforced that law of attraction. Your thoughts are things.
Famous because I think it's really a marvelous thing, that visualization thing you did. Do y'all read about this or hear this? That you used to go up on Mulholland Drive and park
every night
and visualize seeing yourself as.
Yeah, I would visualize.
This is when you were broke and poor,
right? Having directors interested in me and people that I respected, saying, I like your work or whatever that is, and I would visualize things coming to me that I wanted or whatever.
This was in 1987, 85.
Yeah. And I had nothing at that time. So it was but it just made me feel better. It made me, at that time, all it really was for me was kind of making me feel better. I would drive home and think, well, I do have these things. They're out there. I just don't have a hold of them yet, but they're out there.
Okay. So you would get this from what? Self-help books or whatever?
Yeah. Self-help section.
Self-help section.
They've renamed it the Jim Carrey wing.
So didn't you write yourself a check? I heard that you did. Is that true?
I wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and I gave myself 5 years, or 3 years maybe, and I dated it Thanksgiving 1995, and I put it in my wallet, and I kept it there, and it deteriorated and stuff, but then just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million on, I think it was Dumb and Dumber. Maybe.
Dumb and Dumber, yeah. So you visualize yourself
how amazing is that? Let me pause this video.
Yeah. Well, that's
how it goes to show the power of visualization, brother.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And there's so many stories around there like that. And I wanted to use that one because a lot of people know who Jim Carrey is, but it just reminded me as I was watching that this morning. It reminded me of our conversation back in Orlando, and I even gave you a tiger's eye to aid in the power of manifestation. And man, it's very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So let me ask you this, Arn. From your experiences, what is this aha moment you have had in your business, and a major epiphany that you said, okay, I need to do something different if I want to be successful? What has been that aha moment for you?
That's the biggest thing for me, Alexander, man. It's I've never been short on vision, but I've been short on belief.
Sure. Yeah.
And that for me, allowing myself to accept the idea, the calling that I have to be able to help and to serve, the idea that people want what I have to offer, that in and of itself is truly the most empowering and powerful thing. I honestly, it's very interesting that you asked that, and because it's very timely. Because this week I have been going through some steps and to shed some old belief patterns. And it's difficult on the one hand, because as we move through life, we handle things that happen to us, right? We deal with the stuff that comes in, and we're intended to share those things in a certain way with society. People place ideals on us and ideas on us based on who we are, what we do, where we come from, all of these things. And, I mean, dude, 46 years of life, of other people's perceptions, good and bad, being placed on a person, it adds a layer that sometimes it's hard as hell to break through, right? And so, number one, I mean, the number one biggest breakthrough is that first client. It's like, whoops, it's
You're good.
that's funny. Sorry, I took me out of that.
You're fine.
There you go, Blake.
Oh, we're back.
Boom, I'm back.
Boom.
I'm back. Sorry, I had a call coming in. Having that first client, and I can even remember when, within a group, like when I first shared my idea. Come on, buddy. got a meeting a little bit later today with a client, and we were messaging
and speaking
before.
of clients,
so,
right?
I know he's calling in right now, and it's funny. Anyway, and I remember sharing my ideas and my thoughts, and I remember putting them down in the group and thinking, oh man, you're gonna look at this and they're gonna be like, what do you do right now? And I'll be like, well, I teach high school chemistry and physics, and be like, are you good at it? And well, yeah, I'm good at it. And they're like, why don't you keep doing that? I mean, that's going in my mind, right? I'm like, that's what I'm saying. And
Self-doubt, right?
Yeah, and the imposter, right? This imposter syndrome idea, and then it's read, and it's like, I got the most empowering message, which was, I love this, and I accept this, and I need this. And I'm like, what? I'm listening. And so, that's it. And I mean, it's grown from there. And that's what's exciting, is that as the confidence that we feel as entrepreneurs in the acceptance of what other people want, and what that other people accept us and want, that it's like, that's what lights it on fire. Absolutely. Because when I think of this stuff, man, I'm like, the idea of influencer again, and we talked about this, but I love the idea of people doing amazing things and being that embodiment of what's possible. It's like everybody watches, a few people have done an Ironman triathlon, but everybody watches the Ironman World Championship, special come on, in mid-afternoon, in between summer and football season, in between the Olympics and football season starting. And like, they're all crying. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I'm going to go out for a run, and it's like 100 degrees outside. And like, oh. But they do it because we're inspired by other people. And it's not the winner that people get fired up about. It's cool, but it's like, it's the 280-pound football player that came in and was like, I'm going to do this because, I lost my brother last year. Or, I mean, it's these stories. And that is what binds us. And it's amazing. And so it's like, if more people are out just doing, it's like on a Saturday morning, you drive around, you see everybody running. If more people are just doing, then more people will do, and we can change lives. I mean, that's what just fires me up and excites me. So, I don't know that that's necessarily answered the question, but I think it kind of did. It's
sure. That was great, man. And it kind of brings me to something that I was thinking about. It's that our diet, not our diet like what we're eating, what we're ingesting, but our diet, emotional diet. What are we speaking? What are we watching on TV? What are we listening to? And what we're putting into our body really ties into what it is that we can do, and what it is we think we're capable of, and what it is like, people don't understand how tying these, and I don't want to make this a health lesson for my audience. People don't understand how tying in these negative things for your body are controlling your thoughts. They're hijacking your thought patterns. Okay. So like, if you're down in the dumps, and you can obviously agree to this because this is your profession, is that it's really hijacking their neural pathways from experiencing joy, experiencing gratitude, experiencing these things, because they're eating low vibrational things that are pushing them down.
Yeah.
Makes any sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. This week again, it's amazing. What we focus on is what comes true, right? It's what we, and I'm trying to remember the quote. You probably remember the quote, but I even heard it last night. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But this is a place where I'm at right now, and we talked about that a couple of minutes ago. And so my mind is really working towards this idea of moving through a few things and moving into this new realm and fired up. But I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things on Facebook, and one of the things that's been repeated over and over and over and over again this week is that our bodies, our minds can't just form a distinction between us speaking poorly about something not us and ourselves. So if I'm talking about a person or an experience, or I'm getting mad as I'm driving down the road, I'm getting mad at something else, but my mind doesn't really recognize that. My mind recognizes that as I'm just mad. And so it's thinking, are you mad at me? I'm mad at you. You're mad at yourself. And it's this self-doubt. It like perpetuates. And you mentioned the news, and my education or my career background has been in education. And I stopped watching the news holistically and digging into it when I moved into this route as an entrepreneur, 5 years ago, because of the fact that all of this stuff that's coming to me, that, it's news, and some of it's based on fact, but it's given in a way that is based upon, it's delivered with somebody else's inflection, somebody else's opinion, somebody else's insights, their bias. And I'm like, I'm going to make my own decisions. And I've always felt that. And so I'm going to eliminate. And it's really interesting. I mentioned education because in the education world, people that I talk about, they're like, well, how do you know what's going on? It's like, how can we, we have to talk about these things, right? And I'm like, the things that we talk about are foundational. Let's talk about being a good person. Let's talk about how to treat people. Let's talk about how to problem solve. Let's learn how to learn, right? Let's learn how to learn and be good stewards of the knowledge that we have, but let's not go blindly down the path of this other stuff. I'm like, there's nothing that I'm going to learn on the news tonight that's going to immediately impact or change my life. Nothing. And we've had some.
You said that. Yeah. I'm really glad that you said that, because
thank you.
I myself stopped watching the news as well, and I just feel so much happier, man. It's almost like they call it programming for a reason, and it's somebody's opinion, and a lot of the stuff is negative. So it's almost like programming us to expect negativity on a daily basis. We don't understand how deep this goes at a subconscious level of programming thoughts and everything, man. So man,
huge.
You have definitely you're a very intelligent individual, man. You're a very intelligent individual, not just like knowledge, book smart, but emotional intelligence. You understand a lot of things that people don't understand, rather. So
I appreciate that, man.
Speaking of which, Arn, this podcast is called Inspire, and I always like to leave my audience with something that is that will inspire them for the rest of their week. Because for whatever reason, they don't feel they're good enough. They have imposter syndrome, and we've all been there. We've all been there. And you talked about confidence as well, which is very important. And I'm all over the place. I'm on a tangent.
Okay.
So you talked about confidence, and I think that is extremely important, because when I started launching my business and I started to put my product out there, I didn't have the belief that I needed to have in my product, and therefore it reflected in the kind of clients that I was attracting to myself. So as we segment off into our inspiration session, what can you give them that perhaps will inspire them this week to overcome any challenges that they're facing in their business?
That's good. The number one thing, and this, we've been working a lot on this as a family as well. It's control the controllables and make those the things that are the bastions of your, the cornerstones of your actions and what you do. They're the things that you return to. And, controlling the controllables, I'm in control of my schedule. I'm in control of when I wake, when I sleep, what I put in my body, when I'm active. And by doing that, we give ourselves an opportunity for success. And I think all too often we go into things without a plan to be able to put those controllables into action. And what ends up happening is life gets dictated to us. And so, that doesn't sound all that exciting and all that inspiring, but here's the deal. I follow each night before I go to bed. I have a list in my planner at the top, and it's called a $35,000 list. Now, $35,000 today is not what it was 30 years ago or 40 years ago, 50 years ago when Mary Kay actually did this. But a friend shared this with me, and in her planner, Sarah Jane Widener, and she's an amazing young lady. But the idea or the story was that Mary Kay was working with the CEO, and the guy brings her in consulting, and this was before, I believe, before she was doing the makeup stuff, and he said, hey, I need some help with my business. We're struggling, blah blah. And she's like, okay, here's what you do at night before you go to bed. Write down the top 6 things that you need to accomplish in the next day. And he's like, okay, that's it. And she's like, well, yeah, that's it. But she said, here's the deal. I want you to do this for 2 weeks. And I want you to come back in 2 weeks. I want you to tell me what was the value. Like, what would you pay for this service? And in 2 weeks time, he comes back and he's like, I'd pay you $35,000, wrote her a check and gave her a check for $35,000 just for that idea, because his productivity increased. And the great thing about it is once you've got it written down the night before, you can rest.
Yeah.
And so you go to bed, you don't check email. That's the last thing you do. You're done. Next day you wake up, you don't have to think about it while you're sleeping. You just sleep and recover. You wake up the next day, you go through and you're like, oh yeah, this is where I'm going. And you go through and do that. And so on my list, I'll have things like, my I am statements, my affirmations. I'll have things like, I'm going to sweat. I'll have things on there, just the main thing. So there's not only business, there's also family, spiritual, there's also, the personal and incorporating those. So I think by doing that and making those things a foundation, we create something that we can accomplish, but we also give ourselves an opportunity to rest, and that's huge.
Very, very inspiring, man. Very, very inspiring. That is gold, man. Because I myself fail to plan for the next day. I'm like one of those people that wake up and I'm like, okay, all right, cool. What do I do? So much so, in fact, I had to hire somebody to somebody to come in and help me organize that. So I think that's key, man. I think that's gold, which you just gave the audience here. And
thanks, buddy.
And I really encourage you guys to implement that. And if you wanna learn more about Arn, where can they find you?
They can find me at arnallemand.com.
Okay, beautiful. And Optimized Influencer is where can they look that up?
That's it. Yep.
Okay, beautiful.
So
arnallemand.com.
Absolutely. At arnallemand.com. I've got a free weekly planner at the top. And you can just drop an email address and hit go, and that'll come to you. Or opportunity to book a call, and we can go into more depth, after the application process. But it's all on there. That's the easiest way. Facebook also at the Optimized Influencer, or hit me up on my profile.
Very nice. Arn, you've given my audience some value nuggets today, man.
Thanks, brother.
Really good mindset stuff. And I know it's always great synergy when we communicate. And man, I just really appreciate your time for coming on the show, brother. Thanks again.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it greatly. And man, you have a great day, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining another amazing episode of the Inspire Podcast. We'll catch you next week.